Today's story is about dead wife. A long time ago, and I don't know where, and I don't know when, many, many years ago, there were two people. One was a man. I think he might have been like 50 years old. There was a man, 50 years old, and he had a wife. And she was, 40 years old. Okay. These people, husband and wife, they were a couple. Husband and wife, couple. They lived by themselves, far away from people. They were members of a tribe. Tribe is like a this one, okay? Tribe is like a group of people in a country. In a country there are different groups of people, and they belong to one tribe, okay? And they belong to one tribe, but they did not live with the rest of the tribe. If there were 1,000 people in one tribe, these two people lived by themselves, away from 998 people. 998 people lived far away from the place where they lived. They lived in this place, and the rest of the tribe, 998 people is the rest of the tribe. The 998 people lived far away somewhere. It was like a long way. You had to walk for a long time to get to that place where these 998 people lived. And so these people lived alone by themselves somewhere, okay? But anyway, these people, this couple, lived happily together. They loved each other, and the husband, went hunting every day. Hunting, yeah? He went hunting. I don't know what he caught, They lived in the forest maybe, and then he went out to catch a rabbit or shoot a deer, or I don't know. They might have with a bow and arrow. This is arrow. This is an arrow. And this is a bow and arrow, bow and arrow. So this is an arrow, and this is a bow. And so he went out hunting, and he might have used this bow and arrow, and he killed animals, and birds and animals, and they ate the animals and birds that they caught or they killed. So he went hunting every day. Now, the wife sometimes went with him when he went hunting. And they enjoyed working together. Yeah? Not all the time, but sometimes she did. But one day she said she didn't want to go hunting with him anymore. because she had work to do at home. She had to clean the house, she had to do laundry, she had to, mend the clothes, when the clothes is ripped, she had with a needle, and, this is a thread, so, you mend clothes, when the clothes is ripped, you have to, you use a needle in the thread and you sew it up. Sewing, yeah? So she said she had a lot of things to do at home, and so she didn't want to go hunting with him anymore. So the man went hunting by himself. And when he went hunting by himself, he was not lucky. He didn't get very much. He couldn't find any animals. He missed it when he used the bow and arrow, and he missed the target. And so he was not very lucky. And he wanted her to come along, but she said no. And then suddenly she became sick. She fell ill. She fell ill means she became sick. She became sick. And in a few days, she died. She died. The man was very, very sad. The man was very, very sad. He was very sad. He grieved. You know the word grieve? Grieve. Grieve means you are sad, so you cry and you think about it and your heart is broken and it is grieving. You cry and you feel sad and your heart is aching, and that's grieving. Okay? And so he grieved, and not just sad, but he grieved very, very bitterly. Bitter, like a sweet chocolate and bitter chocolate, yeah? Bitter medicine. When you tasted something sweet, and another times something tastes sour, like a lemon tastes sour, but the good medicine tastes bitter, yeah? Now, he grieved bitterly. He regretted it, he felt bad about this, he felt sorry about something, and he wanted her to be alive, and so he grieved bitterly. He grieved very, very sad, okay, because he loved her very much. So he buried her, yeah? Just buried her. He buried her. Okay? Bury under the ground. Okay? He buried her, and he lived alone by himself in the house. Now, he was so lonely. He was very, very lonely because his wife was gone, and because he did not live with the rest of the tribe, he was alone, and so he was very lonely. So what he did was he decided to build a doll. It was a wooden doll. He went to the forest, he got the big tree, and he cut the tree, and he had this big, long, fat log, yeah? And then he curved it, and he made a wooden doll. He made a wooden doll, okay? And then he put the woman's clothes. He put the dress on the wooden doll. Okay, he put the dress on the wooden doll, and he put the I think it was like he painted his face. He painted her face on the wooden doll, and he made the wooden doll sit on a chair. Okay, the wooden doll sat on a chair. The wooden doll sat on the chair, okay, near the fireplace. This is a fireplace. The wood, and then there is a fire. So the man made the woman sit on a chair, and this was a wooden doll. And so when he went to work, and when he came home, and this wooden doll was about the same size. The heights and the size was about the same, and he made this for this doll because he was very, very lonely. When he came home, he came to the wooden doll, and the first thing he did, he came home, he didn't go to the kitchen to drink water. The first thing he did when he came home was he came to the doll, and he because there was this fire, and there were the dust was in the air, and because it's a firewood fireplace, the ashes, ash is like when you burn wood, there are lots of ash. Yeah, the ashes are in the air, and sometimes these ashes are on the doll. And so he would come and he brush off the ashes from the fire. The fire was, the ashes were floating, and it would land on the doll's head, and so he would brush off the ashes from her head. And then he talked to his wooden doll. He said, "Were you okay today? How did you do today? Are you hungry? I will make food now." He would talk to the doll. Okay? Well, 1 year passed. Okay? 1 year. 1 year passed. And every day he went to work, and he came home, and he took care of his, the dust on the wooden doll's head and body. And then he just lived a very lonely life. But now he was busy, because now he had to do housework. He had to clean the house, he had to do the washing, he had to cook, and he had to go out and water the flowers. I don't know what else he did. He had to go and get some water from the well, and so he was busy. And he also had to, like I said, with the needle and thread, he had to mend his socks. Yeah, ripped off. The socks was ripped, and so he had to mend it. The button was off, and so he had to put the button back, and things like that. So he was busy, and there was nobody who could help him, because he lived alone. He had no friends. He had no neighbors. So there was no one who could help him. And so 1 year passed away. Okay. One day, after 1 year, he came home. Okay, now let's write this house a lot bigger. So, this is his house. One day, he came home. And then he saw a strange thing. The fire was lit. The fire was made. Fireplace. There was fire in the fireplace. Okay? And there was some wood. Remember the wood? Wood was by the fire. Some firewood, but was by the fire. And in the kitchen, let's see, in the kitchen, the kettle was on the fire. A kettle could mean this is a kettle, this is a kettle, tea kettle, but this could be a kettle too. Okay, so the pot. So kettle was on the fire. And he thought, strange, who put the fire? And who put the kettle on the fire? He thought it was strange. But then he sat down and he made food and he ate. And the next day, when he came home, it was strange because there was on the table there was coffee and food was on the table. And so he thought that was strange. Who came and made the food for me? Who could have done this? Who could have done this? He felt very curious. He was very curious. So the next day, he went to the forest to hunt, but he came home early. He wanted to know who was going into the house. So he came home early. And then he saw somebody was walking into the house. He saw a woman who was carrying firewood. Somebody who was carrying the firewood was going into the house. And he thought, who is it? But when he came in the house, nobody was there. And so, the following day, the next day, he came home much earlier. And he went into the house. And then he saw the wooden doll was not there on the chair, but the wooden doll was cooking dinner in the kitchen. And it was not a wooden doll anymore, but it was his wife. And so he said, "Did you come back alive? Are you alive now?" He said to the woman. And the woman said, "No," she said. "I look like I'm alive, but I'm not," she said. She said, "God felt sorry for you because you made a wooden doll and you worked hard and you missed me so much that God sent me like this." And so she said, I'm not alive, but you can you can see that I look like I'm alive, and I can help you cook and clean the house," she said. Oh, he was very, very happy. He said, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're here." And he stretched his arms, and he wanted to hug his wife. And then his wife said, "Oh, no, no." He said, "No." She said, "No, no," she said. She waved her hands. She said, "No, no, no. Do not touch me," she said. "Because I'm not alive. I'm just a spirit. Please do not touch me," she said to the man. The man said, "Oh," he said, "when can I touch you?" he said. And then she said, "We must wait." She said, "We must wait for 2 years. And then after 2 years, you and I will go to the rest of the tribe. Rest of the tribe, 998 people. We'll go to the rest of our tribe, and we'll talk to them, and we'll meet them, and we'll explain about this. And when we do this, then everything is okay. You can touch me. I can come back alive, really alive," she said to him. So he said, "All right, I am glad that you're here." And so they lived happily together in this house for 2 years. Now, so the woman lived in this house for 2 years. The woman lived here. The woman lived. Okay, the woman lived in this place for 2 years. Now, after 2 years, the man said, Now 2 years have passed. 2 years have passed. Let's go see the rest of the tribe," he said to the woman. He said, "I will prepare for the trip because it will take us 6 days. It will take us 6 days. 6 days. Okay? It will take us 6 days to walk to that area. So I am going to prepare for the trip," he said. So he began to prepare for the food to take. He began to prepare for the sleeping bag and the water and all the different things that he needed to prepare for the trip, for the journey. Okay? For the journey. 6 days journey. So the man and the woman began to travel, began to walk to see the rest of the tribe. And they walked and walked, okay? They walked. Okay, they had a bag to carry, and they walked and walked and walked. They walked for 5 days. They walked for 5 days. And then there was one more day left to reach the rest of the tribe. Okay? It was a long journey. Now, on the fifth day, okay, it began to snow. It began to snow. And snow was on the ground. And it was cold. It was cold, and they were very, very tired. Now, the rest of the tribe, they were far away, and they were far away, and they still had to go one more day. There was 1 day's journey left. 1 day's journey left. But they had been walking for 5 days, and they were tired. They were tired. They felt weak. They felt exhausted. They felt weary. Weary means tired and hungry, and you don't have very much strength. These two people really, really wanted to go to this place. They wanted to go there as quickly as possible, but they were tired because they were not young. They were 50 and 40 years old. They were not young. And so they were weary, okay? And they began to snow. So the woman said, let's rest. A man said, let's rest. Rest, yeah. Let's take a rest. Let's rest. Let's sit down. Let's go to sleep now because it's getting dark and snowing, and so let's sit down and have a rest. And so they sat down. Okay. They sat down and they made a fire. They made a fire. And they cooked some food, and they became full, and so it was getting dark, and so they said, let's go to sleep. So they put out the sleeping bag type of thing. It wasn't a sleeping bag that we have now, but they spread out something on the ground, and they were going to sleep. Yeah? Well, when they lied down, and the man looked at the woman, his wife, and then suddenly his heart felt he wanted to touch his wife. His heart was stirred. Okay? His heart was stir. His heart was stir means moved. When you are cooking a soup, and when you put lots of different vegetables, and when the soup is boiling, you have a big kitchen spoon, and you stir the soup in the pot. Yeah, stir. It's like when your heart is stirred, means you start thinking, you start feeling something. Okay? The man's heart was greatly stirred, the text says. He saw his wife, and she looked like she was really alive. She didn't look like a wooden doll. She looked like she was a real person. And so he wanted to touch his wife because she looked pretty. So he stretched out his arms to her, and his wife said, No, you cannot touch me yet. We have to go see the rest of the tribe first. Before you do that, you cannot do this. We have to go see them first, she said. But he could not stop himself. And so he stretched out to his wife, and he was going to touch her. And then she said, No. She waved her hands. You have not seen anyone yet. We have to see those people. We have seen no one yet. But he couldn't help himself. He reached his arms to her, and he catched her to him. He caught her to him. He dragged her to him. Okay? And the woman said, no, it is too soon. Too soon. It's too soon. You cannot touch me, the woman said. But he stretched out and he grabbed her. Okay? He held her. He embraced her. Okay? He hugged her. He hugged her tightly. He squeezed her. Then guess what happened? When he squeezed her and he opened his eyes, then he said, "Oh!" When he looked at his wife, it was not his wife. It was a wooden doll. It was the wooden doll. He pushed the doll away. He was holding the doll very tightly. He was clasping. He was clasping her. He was clasping, but he was clasping the doll. And so he pushed the doll away and he said, "Oh no." And he woke up, he got up, and he began to run away from the doll, and he walked and walked for one day, and finally came to the rest of the tribe. He came to the rest of the tribe, and he talked to the people. What had happened? He said, "I was walking here with my wife." He retold the story. He said, but the wife turned back to a wooden doll. He related the story. He explained the story. Yeah. The people here, they did not believe it. No, they said, how can a wooden doll become like a human person and do this and do that, clean the house and cook the food? No, we don't believe that. And he said, yeah, but we walked here. I walked here with my wife. But then when I touched her, she turned back to a wooden doll, he explained. And so the village people, the tribe of people, came here. They walked again for one day. They walked together. People came together, and they came here, and they saw the wooden doll lying on the sleeping bag. And then when they came around here, they saw people's footsteps. Footsteps is like, the shoes footstep. I don't know. Footsteps, yeah? When you walk in the snow, you leave your footsteps, yeah? So these people saw the footsteps of two people. It was clear that there was footsteps of two people. But one of the footsteps was a man's footstep, but the other was a wooden doll's footsteps. And so it was true that the wooden doll walked with the human husband, and it was walking, and so it was alive. But the man did not keep the promise. He should have waited until they reached the rest of the tribe, but he could not help himself from touching his woman, touching his wife, and so the doll, the spirit doll, could not become a real human being, and the spirit doll went back to the wooden doll, and his wish could not be realized. The woman could not become a human being, real human being, because he did not wait. Now, the man was very, very sad. The man was very, very sad. He was very sad. He grieved, okay? He grieved when his wife died, but again, this time, he grieved. Not bitterly. Last time he grieved bitterly because his wife died. But this time he grieved sore. He grieved sore. Sore means the pain is always there. It just dum, 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 dum. It's painful. His heart is broken. He's unhappy. He's not happy. He's unhappy, and he has no hope anymore, and he's suffering. Heartache, broken heart, pain. It is so. He grieved sore, and not just 1 day or 2 days. It did not disappear. He grieved sore all the days of his life. All the days of his life. So he grieved sore every day for the rest of his life, because he did not keep his promise. The end.